In today's video, we're going to look at the subject of premiums. You'll hear lots of talk of premiums, but what is a premium? Well, simply put, it's the amount you pay above the metal's spot price. It covers a ton of things that are extra. It can cover minting, distribution, dealer costs, risk, and very, very crucially, demand. So if you buy a 1 ounce Gold Britannia, you're paying gold spot plus a premium. If you buy a sovereign, it's the same deal, gold spot plus a premium. Even a 100-gram bar has a premium, often lower than it is with coins, because bars can be cheaper to make and sell, but there are a ton of high premium bars as well, so it can be very confusing. The bottom line is, if it's fabricated, if it's sold to retail, it does have a premium. The only thing without a premium is the abstract spot price that you can't actually buy in your hand. So, does everything have a premium? Well, yes. Coins, bars, even paper products like ETFs carry some kind of premium or some kind of fee. It's just lowest for large bars, institutional trades, but higher for small bars, and highest still for coins that are easy to recognize and easy to sell. So what is it that creates this premium? Let's look at some of the key drivers, particularly for the UK, in relation to premiums. Manufacturing and logistics. If it costs more to make, the premium needs to be higher. So struck coins cost more than generally bars. There's the capsules, there's the packaging, the design work, the shipping, the intermediaries, and all those things add up to a particular premium for a particular item. So let's take brand and recognizability as a cause for a premium. Royal Mint Britannias and sovereigns in the UK carry higher premium and liquidity value than coins and rounds manufactured by a random private mint. In the US, an American Eagle will always have a higher premium than something that is less recognizable. There are particular factors in the UK for tax treatment. Investment gold is VAT exempt. There's a video on my channel which covers all of that in great detail, so I won't repeat it. Silver isn't VAT exempt, so retail silver can include VAT unless it's covered under what's called the margin scheme, and that can be a big part of silver premiums for brand new items. Funnily enough, the tax-free status of some coins and legal tender for UK residents can itself be a premium driver, because people are after that particular item because there may be a financial benefit somewhere down the line, and that can also boost demand and therefore boost premium. Supply and availability is a key factor. If the supply is tight, if there's a mint backlog, if there's a shortage of raw materials, it can push premiums higher for the items that are available at any point in time in the shops to buy. If you look at a lot of bullion dealers' websites, you'll see that there are two other key factors which also have an impact on price and premium. One of those is how many you buy at a particular time, because it's more economical for a dealer to satisfy big orders than small orders. The other thing is how you pay. Bank transfer is often lower premium than using a credit card or using PayPal, and there's also some possibility of buying bullion via cryptocurrencies, which is also quite widely offered, particularly in America. The last thing I want to talk about that adds particular premium is collector interest, and we'll go on to that later as well. But designs that are limited in some way or special in some way, key years, privy marks, monarch changes, all those kind of factors add a numismatic premium on top of the standard premium that is related to the underlying bullion item. In the UK, you'll often find that, for example, Britannias have a slightly lower premium than some imported coins. In the USA, I've noticed that low premium coins can be maple leaves. American eagles can be slightly higher premium. They're perceived as being of higher demand, higher quality. Rounds can be cheaper. But in the UK, Britannias are usually a low premium alternative, despite the fact that they are VAT and CGT free for gold coins in the UK. They're perceived as being a lower premium because they have a consistent design, I guess, over the years, and special versions of them can be much higher premium. But, you know, the detail and the devil are always very well connected. Let's look now at why premiums rise or fall. What affects premiums? So they tend to move usually for practical reasons. Demand spikes are a big mover of premiums. Retail rushes, economic wobbles, a media gold rush. It's a funny kind of contra-cyclical thing that if you see a picture of people queuing up to buy bullion, that's normally the time to sell it. So, but people seem to want to buy it when it's in the news rather than when it's cheap. I've never really understood that, but I guess that's partly human nature. All that stuff does drain dealer inventories, and as a consequence of that, premiums then jump for a while until supply regularizes. Sometimes there are supply bottlenecks, sometimes there isn't physical silver to make into coins, sometimes there's delays at the mint, sometimes there's other economic factors or shipping issues. All those things connected with the cost in that production line can raise premiums. The other thing that raises premiums is spot volatility. So depending on how fast spot falls or how fast spot rises, dealer behavior is changed. You know, can they get replacement goods? If it's going to be difficult to get new goods in, they may be a raise in premium to make sure they make enough profitability out of the coins they often have. So all of those kind of things to do with the supply chain affect in a micro level the premiums. And it's interesting that even when premium percentages fall, quite often the absolute premiums can actually rise. So bear that in mind, that even though the percentage seems to be under pressure, maybe the percentage premium goes down as the spot price rises, quite often the amount of money that is being charged as an absolute premium actually goes up. So dealers' profits can go up during that time in terms of selling you that kind of good. There's also other factors, you know, the outlying factors, seasonality, new releases. If something's new, if it's exciting, people are talking about it, things tend to have a high premium at the beginning, but as soon as there's stock available or somebody decides that that particular design isn't absolutely prime, then it's possible premiums can fall as well. So what are the things that can add an additional premium to something? Now, you often hear the word semi-numismatic used, and this is kind of where semi-numismatic lives. Traditionally, proofs, special finishes, all of those kind of things that are limited carry a collector premium. The premium, in theory, is unrelated to the melt value, although the melt value does have an impact on premiums, which can be caused by psychological issues in terms of how collectors behave at certain price points and value recognition. But it can also go down and be under pressure by liquidating sellers who've made a profit on an item and who don't really care at what price they sell it, so long as it's sold quickly. And those kind of sellers then have a downward pressure on the premiums that are around in the secondary market. Let's look at grading, which is a subject close to my heart. Grades of 69 or 70 can add value, but only if there's a real demand for that grade or that label or that specific coin. Collectors are pretty fickle, sometimes, and there can be issues of crowdsourced wisdom, but sticking to rare issues, key dates, special patterns, privy marks, errors, monarch transitions, and great labels can all help maintain that, because premium is as much to do with a story as it is to do with reality. Since scarcity and collectors' wisdom about desirability drives those secondary markets, predicting these factors in buying can help you to maintain premiums when selling. But a word of caution, added premiums can evaporate very, very quickly if interest fades or if a mintage turns out to be larger than expected. Timing is absolutely everything. Are some items beyond premium? Interesting question. I think absolutely. True numismatics, rare dates, varieties, historical pieces, they all trade on collector value and not metal. At that point, melt is just a basic floor. Calling it a premium misses the point in many regards. It's a different market with different rules. For example, I just bought a nice 1885 Melbourne sovereign. I had to pay over £1,000 at auction for that coin. In 2024, I bought a similar coin for £500. Gold has risen in that period, but is the rise in gold the cause of the full rise in price of that coin? I would say no, it's not the whole story. The rise in price is due to a massive shortage as time goes by of shieldback sovereigns in mint state. There are really very few around for anybody to buy. They're more and more difficult to find, and this means multiple pressures on price, not just the overall underlying spot price. I've noticed big upswings in the price of older sovereigns, older proofs, older patterns, rarities. For example, a high quality 1838 sovereign, it was the first year of Victoria's reign, in mint state has gone from about £3,000 to about £10,000 in pretty recent memory, literally the last few years. And this upward swing is not connected to the underlying gold price. Look at the price of high quality Gothic crowns, sovereign patterns, and even silver Gothic florins, and you'll see a very similar story. So, is premium absolute, or does the sales channel matter? I would say sales channel matters a lot. For example, if you buy direct from the Royal Mint, it's typically commanding the highest retail price for new releases. It takes a fair upswing of the underlying metal to absorb that premium, which is for running the Royal Mint business and bringing that coin to you in a designed and packaged way. When it comes to dealers and bullion houses, they often have much keener spreads, and it's easier to buy from them with a known spread, particularly on tubes and monster boxes and things like that. That can be a very different notion of premium. Auctions add another completely different notion of premium. Buyers' premiums at auction range from about 6% to about 25 or even 30%. And that has an impact. When somebody buys a coin at auction and they pay 20% over the top, what is that coin worth at that point? Is it worth the total price the buyer has paid, or is it worth the net price before all those costs? You tell me what you feel about that in the comments below. Another very common way of buying and selling coins is peer-to-peer at shows, trusted Facebook groups. I participate a lot in those kind of groups. That can be the cheapest place to buy and sell coins. But watch for scammers, watch for fakes, watch for payment risks. There's a lack of return. People disappear in some of the groups. So that can be high risk, even though it has the potential to reduce transaction costs quite a lot. Let's take a little look at international factors for premiums. Do premiums vary internationally? Well, yeah, I mean, absolutely. VAT is different, import duties are different, shipping is different. There's local preferences, local groups of collectors who value certain attributes of particular coins. Silver that's pricey in the UK because of that can be cheaper in other places. UK favourite coins like Britannias and Sovereigns, which have a tax advantage here, can be inconsequential somewhere without that tax advantage. Richer markets like America can command higher premiums for some coins. For example, I run the Libertad Lovers group on Facebook, and those guys live, breathe and die Libertads. They don't seem nearly as affected by falls in premium as we are in the UK. So, if you have a coin in the UK that is affected by premium, maybe search for an international audience for it. Premiums are also affected by where you buy and sell, and by that channel to a big extent. There are dealers who operate over Facebook groups who operate a very small margin indeed. They may have premises, they may have no premises, they may have lower overheads, and they can give you that buy and sell price within a very small margin. If you go to your local high street pawnbroker and want to sell your £750 sovereign, sometimes you might only get £450 for it, or even less. So that premium does depend on who it is, the margins and the location. So I'd like to give you some final advice, which is UK specific to some extent. And as always, bear in mind, I'm not qualified to give financial advice, so take it with a pinch of salt. So for stacking, lean into UK recognised CGC free coins, sovereigns and gold Britannias as a baseline, and go into other areas as you find out more about them. When you compare prices, compare all-in prices, include shipping, payments, VAT if that's whereas VAT, the margin scheme, transport, insurance, all those things. Compare the bottom line always, rather than the individual items. When possible, buy in volume. Buy a tube of something, even though it costs more money. You'll get a lower price per item. That will help you when you resell. Always know your exit. Always check dealer buybacks when you buy, as well as looking at the price something's being sold for. Say, well, okay, if I had that item now, how much would you give me for it? And then you'll know the spread. Treat collectible add-ons, such as proofs, privies, 70 labels, as a little bit speculative unless you absolutely have done your homework and you know that market. I love those things. I've done my homework. I go into it with open eyes, but if you haven't yet done your homework, maybe treat those areas with a little bit of caution. So if spot's moving fast, up or down, expect premiums to vary considerably, and there'll always be something else that comes along. If you miss a deal, there'll always be another one. There's millions of coins out there, lots of gold, lots of silver, and you'll always have another crack at it to do it with open eyes. So premiums, they aren't a mystery. They're just the market telling you what's easy to make, ship and sell, and as well as what people actually want. Play the UK game if you're here in the UK in terms of tax, minimise spread, maximise liquidity, let all those tax advantages work for you. So thanks for your patience if you're here right at the end. I know it's been a pretty long video for me, but I've enjoyed talking about this subject, which is close to my heart. If you found this useful, subscribe, drop us a like, share it with a fellow stacker. Let's get those views right up. Tell me in the comments what premiums you'll be willing to pay for things right now and what kind of factors affect you when you're thinking about premiums. So this is me, Numistacker. I'm done for this one, but see you in the next one.